Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. Denise Potter is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out her first appearance on episode 573 of Boundless Body Radio. Denise Potter, RD, has been a registered dietitian and nutritionist for over 30 years. For the past 17 years, she has focused on ketogenic medical nutrition therapy. She strives to provide client-centered, personalized therapy, counseling, and education. Denise has a passion for helping underserved populations benefit from ketogenic diet therapies. Throughout her career, Denise has worked with clients of all ages, guiding them through a diverse range of medical conditions, including epilepsy, cancer, Parkinson's, diabetes, autism, bipolar disorder, and many more. Her extensive knowledge and experience in ketogenic therapies have earned her recognition as a leading expert, and she has had the honor of training healthcare professionals from all around the world. Denise is the author of the fantastic book, The Migraine Diet, a ketogenic meal plan for headache relief. On a personal level, Denise has been married to the love of her life, Terry, for over 30 years, has 4 amazing children, loves to laugh, and a big bowl of guacamole is still her love language. Denise Potter, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you so much for having me back.
It is an honor to host you. That episode I did with you, it really just stands out as one of my all-time favorites. I know you're not supposed to say that about children or podcast episodes, but it just stood out to me as super helpful. I love your style. You make things really easy to understand in a relaxed way. And I really appreciate something that you and I were just talking about offline, where yes, we need to know the science, we need to understand mechanisms, but at the end of the day, if we can't take that kind of science and translate it to other people who they may not want to know or care about any of that stuff, it's not going to really matter. And you're just like a pro at doing that. And so I'm so excited to have you back on, and thank you for making the time. You are calling in from overseas. So tell us a little bit about where you are and what's going on.
Oh, so I'm hanging out in Rodenbach, Germany right now with my daughter and her husband, who he's in the military, and he's also on keto, which is cool. Anyway, and yeah, just had a grandbaby, my first grandbaby. So I'm taking ideas for grandma names, and yeah, so pretty excited to be here hanging out in Germany for a few weeks.
That's lovely. Enjoy the time there. That would be some wonderful memories. We really appreciate you stepping aside to chat with us for a few minutes here. Is it true they say half the work and twice the fun?
Yeah. Oh, for grandbabies for sure. I know, because I'm like, cool. I'd get to rock this baby and hug it up, and then I just go to bed and sleep all night.
There you go. Great.
Yeah, kind of a bonus. But yeah, they're
awesome.
rock star parents, so it's great.
That's awesome. Very cool. I'm glad you get to enjoy the time. So definitely make some great memories with family. And one thing we left out of the introduction, I did this deliberately, was a new project that you're working on, which I'm so excited to chat with you about today. But let's remind our listeners and the people watching your backstory. I find it so interesting that you found some of this stuff way before its time. How did you kind of get back into learning about ketogenic diets, and what was the process like of wondering, is this safe? Can I do this? What is this thing? It was just in a time that you found some of this stuff where there weren't a ton of resources out there.
Yeah, so when I first started keto, and I probably told this story before, so I'll keep this part short, but it was when I was at University of Michigan and applying for a job, and then can you do ketogenic diets? And I've heard of that. And that was about it. And yeah, I can learn anything. And so ended up getting the job working with keto for epilepsy. And it went against, I say against, it was just a very unusual diet for a dietitian to be saying, hey, eat lots of fat, and then giving people these, huge, large amounts of fat. And I really, honestly, didn't really love it at first because I didn't know anything about it, which is why I really love education on keto now, because it's really, it can be hard at the beginning when you really don't understand. So anyway, as I learned more, and I was kind of trying to get out of doing it at U of M, I started seeing people get better with epilepsy. I started seeing these kids, and my favorite line ever, I say it all the time, is when a parent looks at me and says, I got my kid back. And now I have adults say that, 60-year-old parents about their 30-year-old children saying, I got my kid back. in the mental health space. So it's amazing. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, you know. Anyway, so I started out in there in epilepsy, which was a well-established field, although in the 90s and early 2000s, it was really coming up and really growing because of the Charlie Foundation. They just absolutely, you know, created this huge boost, this huge resurgence of the ketogenic diet, because it was almost dead for epilepsy. And basically, and they brought it back. And so, I mean, well, I say they brought it back. Hopkins was still doing it. Mayo Clinic was doing it. U of M was doing it. Spatterings of people were doing it, but they blew it up. And so through the Charlie Foundation, you have this initial bunch of research on epilepsy, and then fast forward into the, you know, early 2000s, and to get the dates on some of the articles, but you know, you see some people doing it for cancer, and then a little bit for schizophrenia and bipolar, and just gradually seeing these silos of work coming up in different areas. And then move up to, gosh, if it was 2021, maybe, no, probably even before that, 19, 20, I can't remember, when the Bazookies discovered it with the ones who established Metabolic Mind, who have now done, you know, all that the Charlie Foundation did and more, have exploded keto for mental health, because what they've done is all these people that were working in these areas and silos, they brought them all together and said, hey, you people all around the world, let's get in one room and let's talk about keto for mental health, and let's see what's working, because we saw it work for our son. So let's do this. And so they've done that over the past 3 or 4 years, and they've just created an amazing nonprofit organization, and they're just funding research and doing so much. So that's exploded. So as far as where I started out, just in all that, it was just this natural progression of, you know, keto for epilepsy, that's established, and then people for cancer, and then migraines, and then McArdle's disease, and just, you know, just these different things that kept coming up that were outside the usual. And then I kind of had the opportunity to say, wow, I either have to work 2 full-time jobs, which I never wanted, or I could kind of lean away from the hospital and go over here and work in private practice, where I can help all these other conditions. And so that's what I did about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, left the hospital and have been just fully private practice. And then what would happen is, like, I'm working 1 million hours. I can't see all these people. So I bring on another dietitian. So now we have 10 dietitians, 1 physician who's a PhD in nutrition also on my team, and we're seeing people all over the world. So it's been just this really nice, slow growth progression, and just trying to help people, you know, one at a time, which then leads us to what we're doing today, which is trying to help many at a time, along with the one-on-ones.
That's amazing. You and I met in 2024 at Dave Feldman's conference, the Citizen Scientist Conference, and it wasn't obvious to me in the beginning, and it should have been. I should have caught on to this a little bit early, but I thought it was an interesting kind of cross between people that were interested in cholesterol, but also a bunch of people that were interested in mental health. And I kind of saw them as like, oh, there's these 2 groups of people, but I missed initially like the convergence of like, oh yeah, of course there's going to be a huge convergence of people with mental health and also concerns about cholesterol together, because we're learning, you know, what can happen to a subset of people that go on a ketogenic diet. They might have an increase in their cholesterol, and they're, you know, concerned about it, and they want to figure those things out. And so it is cool that you see the families like the Bazookies that have done incredible amounts of work, poured so much money into the research. You missed the 2024 Symposium for Metabolic Health in San Diego. And as I've been asking people who have attended that conference what their favorite highlight was, we had an entire day, the whole Thursday, it was all presentations about mental health and keto. And it was absolutely wonderful, whether you wanted to talk about schizophrenia, bipolar, different kinds of diets, some carnivore, some vegetarian, and also getting down to like anorexia nervosa, a presentation given by Guido Frank, who's not even like really a low carbohydrate guy, but explaining all these mechanisms and how this can actually improve what anybody would say you should never put a restricted diet on. It's really fascinating that this field is going, you know, it just seems to be like exploding. We're learning so much more every single day. That must be cool to be in your position and see it be just a little trickle when you first started and just drinking from the fire hose now.
So it is. So it's so cool. Well, you mentioned Dr. Frank. So our team's working on his next study. So he's already published 1 study And their dietitian Shannon Kilty, who's amazing at UC San Diego, did that one, but our team was already in place to do the second study. So several of us are meeting with the patients with anorexia, and we're doing a lot of the same things. I mean, we have different sensitivities with anorexia and different things. We literally just ask the patients, what should we not say to you? Please tell me what your triggers are. Please tell me the things that are going to, that we need to not say, because it's going to be different for everybody. So yeah, there are 3 of us on my team. We're keeping that tight, to have good, continuity would be the word for that. So we're working with that. We're working with a study at Mass General, McLean on a study. We're working with another one, UCLA. And so those are just, and I'm sorry, I hope I don't sound like I'm bragging, but it's just, I'm honestly just humbled by the opportunities to do that and to be in a place where we also can provide, kind of a group that, we have a team of dietitians that are all like-minded. And so we can, provide a bigger level of support and support the number of patients. So oh my gosh, there's another really exciting study coming out. So I don't know if I can talk about that one, but it's coming out soon and it's going to be great. We're going to train the trainers. I'll leave it there, and you
Amazing.
can
What a tease. What a tease. I love it.
So,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
Before we dive into your new project, I had the opportunity earlier this week to do a consultation for somebody who has done low carbohydrate diets in the past. They were quite successful, but the motivation was more like body composition. I want to lose some weight. I want to lose some fat. I heard this is one thing to try. You try it and it kind of works, and that's great. And people hear the term the keto diet and they have an assumption of what they think it might be. And the thing everybody says is like, you're drinking butter and you're eating bacon, which I literally know of 0 people that have ever just done that and been fine. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. But now he's going to go on a ketogenic diet, but it's more along the lines of what we mentioned in the introduction: a nutritional therapy, medical intervention. Like, we have these words that are like, whoa, is this the same kind of thing that I did for losing weight, or is this something a little bit more advanced? So when you're trying to explain to somebody what is metabolic nutritional therapy, how do you explain it to people?
I explain is we want to get the body into a state of ketosis, which means that we're burning fat for energy, where normally your body would rather burn carbohydrates. They're a lot easier to burn. It's a fuel that most of us are consuming, people are consuming a lot of. And so that's our primary, and we also explain it like a hybrid engine. So our primary source, say we're cruising along on gas, or whichever one you want to call primary on a hybrid engine, but cruising along, burning carbohydrates. And then we would flip over into ketosis naturally, even overnight. If you stop eating after dinner, you might have a few ketones in the morning because your body ran out of readily available glucose. It's like, oh, I'll burn a little fat for energy, and that's fine. But then the minute you eat some carbs, you're back into that carb burning state. So what we want to do is keep them. And then when we talk about therapeutic nutritional ketosis or ketogenic metabolic therapy, same thing. When we talk about that, we're trying to keep them into that state of ketosis all the time. And usually at a ketone level, I mean, we say 0.5, it really depends on the person, 0.5 being the minimal number. Really, I like to keep people over 1. I'd really rather often keep them over 2 if possible on their ketone numbers, on like a Keto Mojo or a similar device. So, but doing that and staying in that level is a whole nother story than just, hey, I eat low carb. Eating low carb is great, nothing wrong with that, but just eating low carb, if you're not really monitoring the protein and really pushing the fat to probably about 70% for most people, you're just not going to stay in that state of ketosis. You're going to kind of wander back and forth a lot. And for weight loss and maybe for diabetes, probably not a problem. Like, you don't need ketone levels of 2 for type 2 diabetes, to probably be in a good state. I mean, you can argue that, where do you want to be, but it's not as necessary. And for the weight loss, they don't have to be super high, although they sometimes go a lot higher. They often go a lot higher while someone's losing weight. And then after they lose weight and kind of stabilize, the ketone numbers definitely usually settle out, because I've never researched this, but I always say our fat burns hotter than butter, or than oil. So, and you may find that when someone's in a state of weight loss, usually their ketones are spiking pretty nice.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Anyway, so I don't know, did I answer your original question?
Yeah, yeah, of
Difference
course.
of a therapeutic nutrition. So we're just trying to stay there where again, yeah, just for weight loss or for I want to feel good and eating low carb makes me feel better. That in and out state, or maybe someone's cycling, I mean, they're 5 days on, 2 days off, and that might be great. It may be a great place to be for them and kind of give their body a challenge and then off and on. But at the beginning for treatment purposes, we want to keep people up, and jury's out on the how long on that with mental health specifically and with epilepsy. We know a couple of years, some children and some adults with epilepsy. I have one adult specifically, 2 years on keto with good numbers. She's seizure free, absolutely seizure free, writing a
Wow.
book. I should
Wow.
you should have her on.
I'd love to.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, seriously. And that's amazing. It's
Mm,
just, 2 years did that. So that makes me wonder, wow, with mental health, well, now she's eating very healthy off keto. Okay. So she's off keto. So makes me wonder, we don't know for sure yet what's going to happen with mental health with that. Cause that's where we're seeing patients with all different kinds of things right now. But that is, I will say, probably 75% of who we see right now. Um, I do know of one person specifically. I've definitely had a few patients, they don't stay on forever, but I know another person who's kind of in the field and she's off keto now and she with bipolar disorder, and she's absolutely fine,
amazing.
but she's asking
Wow.
these questions too. Is this okay that I'm doing this? Is this okay? We don't know, but she's okay. And so some
Yeah.
other people, so, that's over time, and we're going to find these things out. And that's what we tell people, like, man, we know it's working and helping people. The how long it's going to be individualized.
Yeah, good point. I love that. As I'm doing this consultation with this guy, I'm explaining that the one cool thing about a ketogenic diet, especially for these type of therapies, is there is validation. There's like objective numbers. If you tell me that you're following the Mediterranean diet, I can have an idea of what the Mediterranean diet is even defined as. You can track your food and I can
Mhm.
compare the notes. But at the end of the day, I can't check your blood and say, oh, this marker says you're Mediterranean.
Mhm.
The DASH diet, you can't really tell. Maybe your blood pressure could be a marker, but there's no validation. Where with a ketogenic diet, are you doing the diet? Do you make ketones? It's that easy. Like you can check and validate the
Yeah.
data. However you get there, there's lots of different trails to the top of the mountain, but you can get to the top of the mountain and you can validate it. So as far as tracking goes, are you basically recommending blood as the best way to be able to do that over other markers, like maybe measuring the urine or the breath, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I super prefer blood. And here's my argument. And we've used urine for years and years. I mean, because that's all we had at the time. We also used to use urine to test glucose levels, right? Would you tell someone with diabetes right now to go dip their urine and then we'll decide their insulin dose by how dark the pee strip is? Heck no.
No.
Uh, no, you wouldn't. So, am I going to tell somebody when I'm trying to find out their freaking ketones to go dip their urine? No, I'm going to get the best available, technology that we have. Now, there are people that they can't check their keto. They cannot poke their finger. There are some real specific things. I find them few and far between, but there are cases where it's not appropriate. So in those cases, absolutely dip your urine. Absolutely. My second choice though would be breath testing, because it's cleaner, it's easier, it's probably going to be better than dipping urine. Urine's very hydration dependent, and you probably know that, where, if you're really dehydrated, you're going to show higher ketones. So, so we don't want, false, oh my gosh, I'm really good this morning. And that's, well, it's because you hadn't drank anything in 14 hours. So your ketones look good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still tells you wouldn't have any ketones if you weren't in ketosis. So it still is, I don't want to say it's not good, because a lot of people are doing urine dipping, and it's fine. Please keep doing it. Don't stop doing it. But if you're interested in more detail and, better and more accurate numbers, by all means, do the blood testing. And I mean, it's $1 a strip, but some people only test once a week. Once they're really well established, they don't want to check all the time. Sometimes it's for the first 2-3 months, or really checking every day, sometimes twice a day. That's great. But then over time, I mean, I can tell when I'm out of ketosis. You're like, oh yeah, that was too many carbs. And so, yeah, people have different symptoms just based on how they feel. And some people very specifically in the mental health arena, they're in different reports. Some people like, oh yeah, over 2.0 definitely felt better. Over 3.0, and that's case dependent too. Some people feel great and they never go over 1 or 1.5.
Wow.
So I always want to be cautious about being so hyper vigilant about the ketones because they're great. What they do is they tell us, are we creating this state in our body that's doing all the other metabolic changes that we know are probably helping? The ketosis is one piece of it. So I don't like them freaking out because ketone of 1 might be doing all the anti-inflammatory and metabolic changes that we need for them. And for someone else, maybe they need a ketone of 2 to do those other metabolic changes. It's such a level that we're not going to have that kind of information anytime soon. I mean, there's research coming out, but anyway, all that to say, like I said, I push the levels, hopefully to an extent that people understand, push for it, but don't be discouraged when they're not.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, good call. That's well said. Well, let's talk a little bit about the new project you're working on. And yeah, let's talk first about the need that you were trying to kind of create. You had, like you said, left the hospital setting, had been working in private practice, partnering with all kinds of people, and had so many resources that you're, still offering. But what the AKT, tell us a little about what it is and why you decided to create it.
Okay. And first I'm going to tell you that I bought us 15 minutes. So with AKT, so with our AKT keto community specifically, and it's a community that we started for, it's specifically aimed at mental health at this point. Our initial grouping is what we're doing is saying, hey, let's aim this toward mental health patients. And what we're trying to do is what we have done, let me back up, is create a community where people can come in, can get a lot of live information. So we have live Q&As. We have, today we had a live journal club. We have a cooking demo once a month. We have Q&A, journal club, cooking demo. Sorry, I have this all written on another screen. And oh my gosh. Oh, and a presentation once a month. So we have a topic. So every month we have a topic. This month was artificial sweeteners. Very hot and interesting topic. Next month, last month was MCT oil. Next month is, wow, I should know that. Anyway, topic every month, fats and oils maybe. Anyway, so they're all aimed out for the whole year. So what we're doing is spending time very live, intimate, where you can get in, ask us questions, during and after these presentations. Q&A, of course, is just all Q&A. And so we're creating a nice content library where we have this information. We're giving also resources, recipes and such every month, some recipes, some different tips and tricks. And in the cooking demo, we try to do a lot of that. We realize too, as we work with people, a lot of people, don't know how to cook very well, or maybe not at all. And then especially if someone's suffering with mental health issues or depression, that's maybe the last thing they want to do, feel like they can, they're hoping to get out of bed today, some people. And so to say, oh, cook this glamorous keto meal, it's not even realistic, but I could show them, how to cook some hamburger and broccoli and put some butter on it. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but trying to be realistic that it's not always these fancy things. Some people need fancy and they're, culinary wise, they're very fancy. I'm very Midwest, taste. So not fancy at all. So we're trying to have some kind of cooler things, and then some just, this is really basic, let's make tuna salad. How do you make tuna salad? And just make sure people know how to do these things, how to cook, and then just explaining basic cooking things too as we do that. And it's been kind of fun. In all honesty, first day for me to do, cooking live like that. And I was really happy. It went really well. It's been going really well. And then one of my dietitians, Stephanie Kreitzer, is deeply involved in the community with me as well. She did the cooking demo last week. I thought, I'm like, have you done this before? You look like you've been doing this, for a couple of years. And so anyway, so it's kind of fun to do something new like that. So, okay, I feel like I've kind of like gone off on a couple tangents. Redirect me.
No, that's great. The cooking thing is so real. Like I work with so many people who they don't know basic skills in the kitchen. They don't know how to do some of these things, and you do need to get down to that level. And whenever I've done group things in the past, my favorite part was always when the group started to get more information from the group than they were getting from me. Like I would have information, but after a few weeks, like they'd start working with each other and they'd provide links to each other. And this person has done this twice already, and they have a little bit more experience. They're helping along some of the newbies. Have you noticed some of that happening as well with the groups?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the comments that we're getting are, you know, like, yes, I don't feel so alone. First of all, and that's the whole thing with the community. And I'll back up a step, is part of the reason we did this, or most of the reason we did this, is because our one-on-one clients are saying, what do I do now? Or who else is doing this? Or I feel alone, or I need more accountability. And we're providing a lot of that one-on-one, but yet they still, like, we're the dietitian, like they need other people. They need their people that are doing this with them. So that goes exactly to what you're saying. Yeah, we're creating a community where people are going to be doing a lot of interaction with each other. So that's, yeah, we've been just building that. One of the things that I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget to say it, like one of our taglines is thriving together, keto, connection, and clarity. So, I mean, we're trying to find things that explain what we're saying. We want people to be thriving. And then the other tagline is where science meets support. Because we want the science, we know we're doing this based on scientific information, based on legitimate studies, based on, lots of reports. Yet, how do we support that? How do we do that? And I'll tell you one more thing, the other driver behind this is because our programs, while honestly, I don't think we're expensive for a one-on-one. I really don't. I think we're very mid-level on pricing. A lot of these people with mental health conditions absolutely are not working because of their mental health condition. And so they can't afford a one-on-one program. And so this is not a start square one keto. It's not a course. I will say that. Not that it won't ever be or contain one, but at this moment, this is not a course to start you from A, B, C, how to do keto. It's more so aimed at people who are already doing this and want support. We're not going to reject anybody that comes in saying, I'm just starting, but they're going to build. We're still going to say that person would benefit from one-on-one, but if it's not where they're at right now, they can start gleaning and start learning and start getting the recipes and know that we're saying, hey, you need labs, you need these details. We're really, again, trying to hit all the science side of it as we go through. But yeah. So again, the money's a big thing because people, they can't afford these services, and insurance doesn't always pay for a dietitian. It's not, there's a lot of barriers out there for people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I wanted to ask you, I believe you said this last time, but you are more in favor of transitioning somebody into a ketogenic diet and a ketogenic state more gradually, right? Is that part of what you guys help people with? Is like, what are the first steps? What do we need to address in the beginning? Like, what are some really common ones that you're helping people along with in the beginning?
Yeah, at the beginning, we typically like to, honestly, and we say slow, but honestly, like it's usually over a week or so. We're not trying to do it super slow, but more of like, hey, let's do one keto meal for 2 days. And I've had someone make sure you say this, one keto meal and then 2 regular meals. Okay. And then after a couple days, 2 keto meals and 1 regular meal. And then after a couple more days, 3 keto meals. At that point, that's only 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And then depending on when you work snacks in, but even that 4 or 5 days, 7 days is a huge difference over going keto in 1 day and saying, tomorrow I'm keto. And that's when people get keto flu, they get sick, they get nauseated. Occasionally someone ends up in the ER dehydrated and vomiting. And so it just really can be a train wreck when people try to do it in 1 day. If someone's already eating very low carb and then they just transition to keto where they're just, whoa, I'm going to bump my fat up and adjust my protein, hopefully they're not going to have an issue. But it's those people that are eating 200-300 grams of carb a day, which is not unusual, and then to cut down to 20 or 30, wow, they are probably not going to feel well. We would rather they don't do that. We'd rather them
Yeah.
cut back gradually.
Yeah, good point there. And I find it interesting that even people in our community say that doing a ketogenic diet is extremely difficult. Chris Palmer is one that like he'll go out of his way to say like how difficult it is for people to do a ketogenic diet. And on the one hand, like I get it, it's not the easiest diet to cut out everything, a bunch of stuff that tastes really good. But also the motivation level for these people should, I would imagine, be very high because they're dealing with pretty severe mental issues or seizures or all kinds of different stuff. So in your own experience, what has been your observation as far as compliance goes with most of these people? Obviously, there's going to be a big variance. Some people can pull it off and other people can't. But in general, most people that are coming to this for a very specific health reason, what have you noticed as far as being able to actually execute the diet?
Man, I don't have specific compliance numbers, so I have generalities. I mean, I feel like, yes, I'd say let's say that I say 70% are able to do this, but and that's, and I hate even saying that number because it really, oh, I'm coming off as unstable. Is my internet okay?
You're good.
You hearing me okay? Okay. Anyway, okay. So 60 to 70%, maybe more. It just really, what's really interesting is some of it's personality. I mean, a lot of it's personality, right? You have these people that are like, I'm going keto. And and I feel like that's a 10% of people that are just like, I can do this. It's no problem. What's wrong with you? They're the ones that are at the gym at 4:30 and no problem. And they're, yeah, 60 or 70%. And that's a little bit vague. But what happens sometimes for us is sometimes we try to filter this out, but we see a lot of parents will come in, they'll do our info call, and they're saying, hey, I want my child to do this. And I mean parents that, they're 45 and their child's 25. These are not, young children. Young children are super easy. We just give them food, they have no choices, okay? But adult children, and that's a lot of this group of bipolar schizophrenia that we're seeing, are these young adult, even median range adult people that are still maybe living with their parents or financially supported by their parents. So the parents have great interest, besides the fact that they love them and they want them better. They want them to be able to function fully as adults and earn their own living and such. So they come in, the parents are highly motivated, and they're trying to push their child to say, hey, come on, this is a great treatment. And can you imagine if you had a child that needed this treatment, you would also be like, you need to do this. So that's sometimes where compliance struggles, because sometimes the parent's more motivated than the actual patient or client. And so that's a difficulty. We try to screen that at the beginning. I tell people, please don't sign up, unless we know that they want to do this. I tell people I want them to do it for 4 months at least, to really, really see. And some of the studies coming out, we're seeing, a lot improvements coming in that 4th and 5th month that are documented, where it's just taking longer. We see that in practice. And so I don't even say 3 months anymore. So if you're not going to say do it for 4 months, it doesn't mean it has to be a perfect 4 months. But if you're mostly in ketosis for 4 months, and then studies, matter of fact, I was reviewing one of Dr. Sethi's studies today to prep for something, and the compliance, it's not perfect. It's not perfect compliance, but people are having benefit. You're going to wiggle around. A birthday comes up, you go out to dinner, Christmas time, things happen. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be pretty good. Okay. But not everybody's perfect. And so, yeah. So as far as compliance, it's frustrating, because sometimes it's also, then it's just their physical condition, which they call it a mental health condition, but it's it's physically being caused, right? And so they're inhibited by by this condition, by maybe they can't get up, maybe they can't cook, maybe all they can do is grab something to eat, maybe they're discouraged. And so, yeah, we're fighting a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's really well explained. I'm glad you're having so much percentage of compliance. And I just think back on our first conversation and talking about the medications and drugs and how, very ineffective a lot of those can be for people. You might hit a home run and get something that's helping a little bit, but from what I've heard from experts like you and other people out there, it's pretty tricky with the medications. And so to have this as an option at the very least, you could try
Yeah.
this, and it should make things a lot better and improve your health in many other ways. It's pretty cool. I do want you to talk a little bit about the courses that you're offering as well. That's also something that's included on the new website, and something you've done for a while. How has it been to educate other people all over the world, like we mentioned in the introduction, and tell us about some of the courses that you offer?
Yeah, so in conjunction with Beth Zubikania, who is a consultant to the Charlie Foundation, she basically she was with the Charlie Foundation from almost the very beginning and has trained people all over the world. So we collaborated together, partly because of because it was it's difficult and expensive to go train people one-on-one in all these places. So we started an online training several years ago, even before COVID. At that point, everybody decided they needed to do it, but we had done it a couple years before. And so we have a keto mastery course, we call it. There's a foundational course, which is very, very, very comprehensive. There's a whole lesson on adverse effects. There's a whole lesson on supplements. There's a whole lesson on exogenous ketones, MCT oil, a whole lesson. So it's very, very, it's very application oriented, and it's very, there's the science for sure, but our primary focus is application. We hope that when you get done with this, you know how to teach people keto. We don't prohibit just any learners from coming in, but it is aimed at dietitians, physicians, pharmacists, nurses, that type of professions. From there, then we did an advanced course, which goes through and takes many different conditions like mitochondrial conditions and MS and cancer and mental health, and has a subject, a class on each of those, on many of these different conditions. So that's the second one. And then the third one we did a couple years, year and a half ago, maybe, is a psychiatric mini course, we call it. So, and that is, it's just really a bath, a small bath into the foundation to give you the basics of keto, and then some of the psychiatric literature up to so far. And a matter of fact, we have to renew those courses every 3 years. And already after a little over a year, I'm going to go in and re-record some of it because there's so much new science, or at least do an addition to that way before we need to, because so many studies and so many case reports and things have come out that I feel like, oh my gosh, I need to, the content on there, we're going to up it a little bit before we technically have to, because of all the things coming out. It's been pretty cool.
Amazing.
So those are the keto mastery courses that we have. So those are all asynchronous. People sign up for those and get a 1-year access. And we do a quarterly Q&A, which is actually really fun. We love doing that because it's just fun to answer questions. So we just get on there every quarter for an hour, hour and a half, and just troubleshoot questions with people about their patients, about themselves, about whatever they want to hear about.
Wow, that's super amazing. I learned from Nicole Laurent that if you go to like Google Scholar and put the word ketogenic in, it'll automatically update you anytime there's new studies dropping. And I commented on this recently. It's almost annoying how many emails I get from that thing generated because there's so much coming on. You could never stay on top of all of it. It's amazing how the research is coming in. The whole program sounds incredible. Your website looks really good. I'm super excited to see how this is going to grow in the future. It looks like the foundation is there and is really, really good. And like you said in the beginning of this conversation, you're so good about getting that information to the masses in a way that they can use it. I know we have a bit of a time restraint today, and you've got a grandkid to play with and spend time with.
I do have a few more minutes, so just so you know, I bought us a little bit of time, but anyway,
no
go
worries.
ahead.
Is there anything else that we need to know about AKT?
No, I think just to because I want to make sure I hopefully explain the community well. So what we're doing is right now, if anybody goes to a link right now, we have a wait list, and that will only be until June 3rd. And at June 3rd, everybody will be directed to a sign up. And then of course the wait list will get information on signing up. And so as people sign up for that, and I'll be transparent and say the numbers, it's $60 a month for this community. I'd always hate it when people hide their numbers. And so then within the community, what we're hoping again is that we continue to provide just on top of it, the research, the cooking, the journal clubs, all this information where people can go and interact. I know some people would like to interact, and then there's some people who are going to kind of stay back in the wings and just watch things later, and that's fine. There's room for everybody. And then some people are going to want to get on the forums and things. And then the other thing that I didn't mention is we have monthly challenges, because I feel like that's part of the accountability. So we're trying to foster that. And so the first challenge was, check your ketones. And then we realized, oh, we probably shouldn't tell people to put their ketones in, because then that created like a competition, and some people felt inadequate because we, hers are 4 and mine are 1. And I realized, oh no, we didn't want to do that. We just want to encourage people. So now we're just going to, those challenges will just say, did you test your ketones today? We're not going to, we don't want it to be competitive, because again, when you're just starting or having a bad day, we don't want to ruin it for people. But anyway, challenges are a challenge like, hey, make one of the recipes and post a picture of it, and just things like that are realistic challenges that people can do, and they're not so, you don't have to be perfect, or again, maybe it's read the article. It's just small things, just trying to have little things, and then of course people get rewards, trying to use the accountability that these platforms have for us, where the accountability gives people rewards and badges and this kind of stuff. And that's it's just kind of cool. It's just kind of fun for people to see, like, wow, I'm participating. And then that helps us to see who's participating. How do we encourage those who aren't, or maybe some of them who aren't, don't want to, but that's okay. Again, because they're in the background, just reading what other people are doing. And that's okay. If we support them in that way, that's okay too. Wow. So yeah, I think that, again, we're pretty excited about it. I think it's quality work, quality information, and we can't wait to get people live. I can't wait for June 3rd, because I just want to make it live now. So right now we're in a beta phase for the past few months. So we're ready to go.
We will be dropping this episode very soon after June 3rd. So people have access to that, which would be very, very exciting. $60 a month. Think about that. For less than $1,000 in a calendar year, you could finally see relief from serious, heavy mental disorders by taking this curriculum and being part of this group. Not the curriculum, excuse me, but being part of the group and getting the support. And who knows, after a year, you might know everything that you need to know to manage this yourself, or you may develop a love with the community and want to stay. That's a crazy good value. So it's wonderful that you're creating this resource and getting it out to people. I can't wait to see how this goes. When you come back stateside, we'll have to follow up and maybe have you on again to get an update on how things are going. But for now, Denise, amazing job. I can't wait to see how this is going, like I said. But thank you so much for taking time to step away from everything you have going on overseas. Tell people where they can go to find you and connect with you and your work.
AdvancedKetogenicTherapies.com is our website. And then of course we're on Keto Potter RDN on Instagram, and
awesome.
Ask me all those. Yeah, sorry, caught me off. So, but yeah, KetogenicTherapies.com and everything, you can catch it on from there.
Perfect. We'll tag everything in the notes as well, so people can just go right to the notes and click on everything and be sent to the right places. But for now, Denise, it's always so great to chat with you. It was great to finally meet you in person last year. And look forward to our paths crossing sometime soon. And I'm so excited for all the work you put into this, and I hope it's very, very successful. And I hope you have some amazing stories for us sometime down the road. But for now, thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy life. Congratulations on the grandkid. Go enjoy all of that. And thanks again for coming on our show today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Such an honor. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.